Welcome to Missouri State Auditor Tom Schweich's 10 Steps to Audit Excellence, a public service provided by the Missouri State Auditor's Office. Auditors usually come in after the fact and point out what went wrong. Here are some practical guidelines for avoiding bad audits and showing the public or your shareholders that you run a fiscally accountable and efficient operation. These guidelines and top 10 steps apply to public and private entities alike. Number 10 on our list, cooperate with the auditors. Whether you are dealing with internal auditors, outside accounting firms, federal or state auditors, or inspectors general, failing to cooperate creates immediate suspicion on the part of the auditing entity. They get the impression that you have something to hide. A lack of transparency is one of the most common concerns forwarded to the state auditor's office. When dealing with the state auditor's office, provide requested information and documentation without making the auditor resort to using subpoena power. Number 9 on our list, respect public assets. You should protect physical and monetary assets. Protect physical assets by affixing asset tags, conducting inventories, and managing surplus. One city audited by the state auditor's office paid insurance on 2 vehicles it no longer owned, which it could have detected if it performed an inventory. Monitor public vehicle use by tracking the miles incurred and comparing them to the fuel purchased, and using logs to document the purpose of any miles driven. Carefully manage monetary assets by protecting the entity's financial health. Spending responsibly and reconciling all money spent to receipts or other documentation that shows the reason for the expenditure. Establish detailed policies with reasonable limits to help guide spending decisions. Make sure to only reimburse allowable, reasonable, and documented expenses and issue only a limited number of credit cards with appropriate credit limits. Number 8 on our list, follow personnel policies. Monitor payroll to ensure there are no mystery employees being paid, and properly manage leave balances. Make sure employees and their supervisors approve timesheets and properly monitor overtime. Missouri law forbids any payment of bonuses and any payments for services previously rendered to public officers or employees. Also, avoid the appearance of nepotism and recuse yourself from any vote or decision involving a relative. Number 7 on our list, carefully plan and monitor large projects. Monitoring large projects is one of the most important and one of the most perilous functions any government or private corporation performs. Carefully planning at the outset will prevent overruns, inefficiencies, and performance problems. For example, if one of the cities audited by the state auditor's office required a performance bond, it would have saved over $100,000 on its large project. Conduct necessary studies to uncover latent issues and obtain appraisals and/or cost analyses to ensure you pay a reasonable price for services and goods. Adequately document research, discussions, and decisions made. When making financing decisions, discover the terms such as interest rates and prepayment penalties at the time of the financing so as to minimize unnecessary expenses. Document the completion of each milestone and ensure compliance with contract requirements. Number 6 on our list, use good procurement practices. An environment of free and open competition creates opportunities for obtaining best values. Entities that do not already fall under the state requirements for obtaining best values should adopt a procurement policy requiring multiple bids on projects above a certain dollar threshold, and the solicitation of proposals for professional services. If you determine a sole source award is appropriate, or if you do not select the lowest bidder, carefully document the reasons for the decision. To avoid an appearance of impropriety, abstain from voting if the vote involves a conflict of interest or a related party. Manage scope changes by formally approving scope changes, soliciting bids for the changes when appropriate, and not adding bells and whistles that put the project over the budget. Number 5 on our list, develop and execute budgets properly. Proper budgeting is a cornerstone of fiscal responsibility. Develop complete and accurate budgets and document the approval of the budget and any amendments. Do not deficit budget and compare actuals to budgets regularly so you can make adjustments to the scope of the projects if it appears you may overrun a budget. Do not subsidize general revenues with funds designated for a specific purpose or with other restrictions or limitations. Number 4 on our list, abide by the Sunshine Law. Missouri Sunshine Laws guarantee citizens access to public meetings, records, votes, actions, and deliberations with very limited exceptions. Although the Missouri Sunshine Law only applies to public entities, private entities and non-for-profit groups often have disclosure requirements to their stakeholders as well. So the following advice is helpful for non-public entities too. You should presume all public meetings are open. When it is necessary to close a meeting, close it properly by starting in an open meeting and documenting the vote to close. And keep the closed meeting limited to the topics allowed by law. Make sure the custodian of records maintains accurate, complete, and accessible minutes of all meetings opened and closed at the official location. Adopt a Sunshine Law policy that designates a custodian of records, establishes a justifiable schedule of changes, and implements a Sunshine Log to track requests and responses pertaining to the Sunshine Law. Number 3 on our list, use strict receipting and disbursement practices. Good receipting and disbursement practices go a long way toward preventing mischief. Segregate duties or implement supervisory reviews to ensure oversight. Secure monies and endorse checks with proper restrictions immediately. Document the composition of daily receipts such as cash, credit card, check, or money order and reconcile this to the composition of deposits. Reconcile bank accounts to prevent and detect theft or errors. Obtain and document proper approvals of disbursements and maintain adequate supporting documentation for disbursements, such as detailed invoices or receipts. Number 2 on our list, preserve information as required by law. When it comes to audits, it's not quite enough to say that you met any financial or accounting responsibilities. You have to document it. Make sure required records contain sufficient detail and are accessible, and retain them for as long as required. Be sure to file any required reports timely, as such reports provide transparency and facilitate the early detection of problems. You should implement and follow a data recovery plan as part of a broader disaster recovery plan, and implement and follow a clear and lawful document destruction policy, which includes guidance as to when to suspend the policy. And the most important step you can take towards receiving an excellent audit. Number 1, watch out for criminals. Although accounting controls can help prevent and detect theft, diligence and common sense are still critical. Every year, the State Auditor's Office uncovers multiple instances of embezzlement. Be aware of issues that could cause an otherwise good person to steal, such as personal financial distress, substance abuse, or gambling addiction. Watch for red flags, such as employees who seem to believe they are entitled to live beyond their means. You might notice a change in the nature of transactions, such as an increase in the number of voided transactions or less cash being recorded as received, or an employee might refuse to use annual leave fearing a replacement may discover criminal activity. This is Missouri State Auditor Tom Schweich's Top 10 Steps to Audit Excellence, a public service provided by the Missouri State Auditor's Office. For more information, contact the Missouri State Auditor's Office by email at moaudit@auditor.mo.gov.